Hello, I'm Penny Thornton and welcome to my astrology channel. This is where I talk about what's going on up there and how to deal with it down here. And of course, at this particular time of our lives, I think astrology has come into its own. It's such a very beautiful lens through which to look at what's going on and how to really sort of monitor events, because there's never been a time like this. In fact, for most of us, these last 3 months have taken us into a situation we never ever dreamt we'd be in. And for a lot of that time, for a lot of us, that has meant lockdown. It's been a difficult time for everybody, and for some, much more difficult than others. Uh, some have lost loved ones, being very ill themselves, and losing livelihoods, being forced into self-isolation, house arrest, as I call it. It's really, really challenging for absolutely everybody. And now, 3 months in, it's even more challenging because how much longer does this have to go on? Well, I think you know my thoughts on this if you watch some of my other videos, and I think it's going to take a little bit longer than the end of May to be through this. And so what we really need are strategies to be able to get through it and to get through it well. And that's what I'm going to spend a large part of this video talking about, sign by sign, strategies that suit the different signs. But first of all, I'm going to look at what's immediately ahead of us. The coming week and the week after, we have a very strong presence by both Saturn and Uranus. And these planets are so very different in their nature, but they do really reflect the times we're in, because Uranus is all about freedom. It's about diversity and change. And Saturn is all about same old, same old. So in a way, we've got some developments here in that some countries are coming back or trying to come back to business and getting, easing the muscles of the world, if you like, getting freedom back. Whereas others, it's a case of even more restrictions, lockdown is continuing. And that's very much a reflection of Saturn and Uranus. We also have Pluto in our midst, a very strong Pluto. And Pluto is strong, or why I describe it as strong, because as I'm speaking to you, it's stationary. And of course, planets are much more powerful, their properties much more in evidence when they're stationary. And Pluto is going to turn retrograde on the 25th. And one of the things that I look at when I'm looking at planets, I like to use their keywords. And with Pluto, we've got the keywords of elimination and transformation. And of course, what we've all found is that we've had certain aspects of our lives completely eliminated. Maybe it's temporary and we'll get them back, but they're certainly not part of our existence right now. And what we've had to do is be creative, to change, to transform, in order to create a new life for ourselves in some very, very limited conditions. And in fact, that process of transformation is what we need to emphasize Pluto for, because no matter how destructive it seems, and how difficult it is to manage a Pluto transit, what we get out of it, where we change at core level, and how we change our lives, and especially in the coronavirus situation, what we're going to come out with at the end of this is a new world and a new way of living. Everything will have changed. So this, in a way, is Pluto's great power. And we're going to see a lot of that in these next couple of weeks. I don't think they're an easy 2 weeks ahead. And even though there's a nice new moon in there, and new moons are always new windows of opportunity, new chapters, new beginnings. And because this new moon is up close and personal to Uranus, the planet of freedom and diversity and change, we can see that there are some fresh developments coming into the arena. And I think particularly with some of the more recent, not discoveries, but developments in the possible management of the coronavirus, in the sense of treatments that are being tested, that are giving a great deal of hope that we will soon be able to manage the situation, even if we haven't as yet got a vaccine for it, which may take a lot longer. But that's another facet of anything that's strongly Uranian, is that new discoveries, new things come into the arena. So the other thing I want to say too is about the economy, because the new moon is in Taurus, and when we look at Taurus, it has a lot to do with finance and the money markets. Remember, Taurus, the bull, is the symbol of the money market, the American money market. And we talk about bull markets, of course, bear markets as well. But the idea of Taurus, the bull, and finance is uniquely linked. And it's another way we can see how much the language of astrology gets into everyday life. So I think that new moon is encouraging in the sense of what it may bring to the economy, the global economy, maybe a little feeling that, you know, there are some good things to look forward to. There is some growth, there is some potential. But I have to say, I think that might be short-lived, because by the time we get to the full moon on the 7th of May, so the sun is in Taurus, the moon in Scorpio, this is to be followed by Saturn turning retrograde. It'll be stationary at the time, and also Jupiter turning retrograde, and Venus. They all follow in suit. And I think that suggests that we are back into negative territory again. But let's make the most of our time in the expansive new moon phase, when new things are coming into the arena and we take our growth where we can find it. So, strategies. The strategies for our time under house arrest. Very, very important, especially if, as it is going to go on for much longer than we'd really like. My own feeling is that from here to the end of the pandemic, when we come out the other side of it, it isn't just a sort of, you know, gradual, a sort of a curve that's gone to the bottom and then curves up until we get out of the pandemic. It's more a wave form, so that there are a series of perhaps lockdowns, followed by a release and a tentative step into normality again, followed by another lockdown. So we see it in a form of waves. The same really with the idea of the progress we make with managing the virus itself. It's a wave form, not a straight up and out form. So we do need to be able to manage our time. And the way I've done this is to group the signs really into their elements. So we're looking at fire, earth, air, and water, and making certain recommendations for each different sign. So I'm going to start with Gemini, which is an air sign. And the reason I'm starting with Gemini is that of all the signs, Gemini has probably the most difficulty in adapting to any kind of confinement. All the air signs love to breathe, to have space to move, both physically and mentally and emotionally. The idea of boundaries and constriction is anathema to the air signs, particularly Gemini. Gemini being the most claustrophobic of the air signs. So the great strength, of course, particularly with Gemini, lies in the mind. The mind is the greatest organ in the body, and that's what needs to be utilized in this period, this indeterminate length of time we may have to resort or be left to our own devices to create our new world. So really all this is about the mind. And for Gemini, I think the strategy should be this, that you have a new thing to do every day of every week. And you plan this, perhaps on Sunday or Monday, whenever you plan the thing that you're going to do for the first time during the course of the following week. You may come back to some of those first time experiences because you want to continue them, but there should be a lot of variety in your day. And of course, it's an opportunity to learn. And the one thing about Gemini is the great curiosity about life. So to learn new things, whether they're practical things, how to do certain things that you can then incorporate into your life in the future, whether it's to learn a language or something else, you can acquire that. And also, I think, to keep connected to other people. Gemini, like all the air signs, is a very sociable sign. And so you need to be exchanging ideas with other people, traveling with the mind, not necessarily traveling in reality. Now, Sagittarius, as the opposite sign to Gemini, is perhaps the second sign in the zodiac that doesn't take well to confinement. Sagittarius, a fire sign, the great explorer and adventurer of the zodiac, wide open spaces, the need to not be contained, to be committed to things, not at all. You want that open territory that beckons you in. So again, it's travel with the mind. It's exploring different cultures, exploring different religions, looking at all sorts of different studies that you can improve the mind as well as your experience of the world. Reach out to people all over the world in a virtual way through the internet. And I think too, for Sagittarius, which is a very spiritual sign, very interested in all things that elevate the mind and the spirit and the soul, the idea of developing your meditation techniques, to use yoga and all those kind of mind, soul, spirit stilling and expanding techniques is a wonderful way of getting through these times. Coming back to the rest of the air group, Libra, an air sign, a very sociable sign. And interestingly enough, Libra often looks as though everything is in balance, but that's the appearance of things. Of course, Librans want to have balance in life, and to these ends, they try very hard to keep everything looking wonderful. And in this time of confinement, Libra may be like one of those birds on the water, everything looking very still and easy to manage on the surface, while the legs are pedaling like crazy. But in this instance, it means everything is looking fine, everything is okay on the surface, but deep down there is a great amount of worry and concern, both about what's going on in an everyday way, but also about the future. What does it all mean? And I'm going to put Virgo in with Libra here, because Virgo is the great worrywart of the zodiac. And you too need to deal with worries in the most kind of sensible way. In other words, get them out on paper. Don't let those worries reside within your unconscious mind or within the mind constantly going over fears and doubts. Get them out on paper. Share them with people. Share them, whether those are with people who you are in confinement with, or whether they are with friends and family and people you connect with online, or whether you seek guidance out there to communities and organizations that are there to really help resolve problems and worries. It's the biggest thing for Libra. And of course, Libra being a very partner-oriented sign, if you're with a partner, this is time to really find new levels of your relationship and to really, really learn to work as a team, not as two individuals in a relationship, but teamwork. And of course, if you're not with your significant other or you're on your own and missing a partner, this is a great time to explore relationships again online. Aquarius, the third of the air signs, very interesting. This is a fixed sign. And with anything of a fixed nature, it likes boxes. So maybe Aquarius, of all the air signs, is the best accommodated to living in lockdown. What I would recommend for this sign, though, again, all the things I said about air, needing to exchange ideas, to learn, to invent. Aquarius is a sign of invention. Find things to invent, whether that's what's ever in the cupboard that you have to make a meal of, or whether it's things that you can learn. You know, origami, it could be anything. But to put your inventive skills to good use is a wonderful use of your time in confinement. But another suggestion I have for Aquarius, all the air signs need space. But in Aquarius's case, you need to create a space for yourself. Of course, this is very easy. If you live in a big rambling house, there's probably a room you have all to yourself and you can bury yourself away there. It's a man cave, it's a woman cave. But if you're stuck in a one-room apartment, you're going to have to create your space. And that can mean just a small corner of that apartment, but it is very much defined as your space. It's where you go when you wish to be on your own, in a sense, or doing the things that make that time special. I'm reminded a little bit of the naughty step that we do for children. You know, if you've been naughty, then you go sit on the naughty step and think about it. But that becomes a means of really moving from one state to another and getting through what could be a difficulty. But well, by creating a physical space for yourself, you do the same thing. You allow yourself to go into your space, think about things, and come out refreshed into the bigger space of your world, which may be indeed the rest of the apartment. Now let's look at the Earth group. We've already talked a little bit about Virgo, the worrywart of the zodiac, but there's also Capricorn and Taurus. And the Earth signs are really, of all the signs, the best equipped to deal with lockdown. This is because Earth signs naturally understand about boundaries. They understand there's a reason for rules. There's a purpose behind them. They serve a purpose. And to adapt to living in a space and recognizing that it would be unwise to go beyond it is a natural understanding for the Earth signs. Now, what really matters to Earth and what helps all the Earth signs in this period is routine. Create a daily routine. Build or create a structure of your day. And it can be anything. It's whether, you know, what time you gather for that first meal, or if it's on your own, it's the making and grinding of the coffee. It can be anything, but it's part of the routine structure of the day. You have different parts of the day that are segmented for certain activities. It can be a time when you hook up with the rest of the family online, or it's a time when you do your study course. It's a time also organized by food and meal times, but it's the structure that gives you the security and the stability and the sense of continuity. It's something that you can continue because it gives shape to your day and a shape to this time of the coronavirus. Now, in Taurus's case, I think particularly the idea of growing something is important. Taurians are the green thumbs of the zodiac. And, you know, whether you're lucky enough to have a garden out there that you can get into and plant seeds and make the garden look abundant and beautiful, so you see it growing and changing in the seasons, or whether you're in a one-room apartment again, you can get a plant pot or a few plant pots, plant seeds, germinate seeds, look at them growing. And this idea that things are changing and growing and moving sends a very important message to the unconscious mind. And so that gives you a feeling of life and hope and development. And Taurians, of course, are also usually very good cooks. So the idea of baking is particularly Taurian. And I would add this in to Virgo and Capricorn as well. Because again, with cooking, it occupies the mind, it occupies the physical senses, the idea of starting something methodically, making it, using the scientific sense of how long it's got to cook, and ending up with a fantastic thing that you can eat, or even if you don't want to eat it, you can give it to the delivery guy. That's another way of making this time purposeful. If we come now to the water signs, that's Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, again, this group is quite well equipped to deal with lockdown. The reason being that these three signs are often home bunnies. You actually enjoy your home nest. It's where you feel safe. It's where you go to privately restore and recharge your batteries. So home life can be a very safe and, well, it's a sanctuary for a lot of the water signs. What you need too is stability and security. Remember, water needs to be contained, so you need something to contain you. And that's very much akin to what I was talking about for the Earth group, is that you too need routine. You need to have a structure to your day that gives you the security and stability you need to get through this period. The water signs are also very creative, sometimes in a very artistic way. And often, we talk about creativity, and I find often with my clients, they'll say, oh no, I'm not the least bit creative. But everybody is creative. Maybe not everybody's a Picasso, but everybody can daub paint on a canvas. And you may find you have untold talents. And one of the things about getting creative is that it's also allowing what's in the unconscious world to have expression in the external world. So it's a very good way to process worries and dark thoughts. So it can be useful, productive, and highly creative in so many ways. Scorpio, of course, thinking about dark places, it is a sign of great, deep, and dark depths, very resourceful. You, of all the signs, are equipped to deal with the coronavirus and the long haul of the coronavirus. I'm often reminded, and I'm not sure whether this is apocryphal, but it is said that you can put a scorpion in the freezer, keep it there, and then you can take it out 6 months later, let it warm up, and it'll be alive. I don't know how true that is, but certainly scorpions can withstand extremes of heat and cold. And that really is a parallel to the sign itself, in that you could withstand conditions. You're built to survive whatever life throws at you, and not just built to survive, but you can reinvent yourself in difficult times. It's the process of becoming renewed. It's a renewal process. Death and rebirth, so central to the sign of Scorpio. And I think this might be something that you could really utilize over the journey of the coronavirus. And because Scorpio is often attracted by the mystical, those things that are hidden and secretive, this might be a wonderful opportunity to actually learn, well, why not astrology, but some of the other mystical arts, to read about them, to develop your own powers of intuition, of foresight. And it's a wonderful way to use this particular time. Cancer, of course, is another, well, it is the sign of the home, so very well equipped to deal with this period when we are mostly at home. Again, we're looking at things to do with the creative mind. And Cancer and Gemini and Sagittarius are the signs I would recommend to keep a journal. Virgo too, I think, is also a journal type. And what this journal can do, especially now I'm with Cancer, this idea of annotating the day, talking about what you did, your thoughts, what happened in the outer world, in the world within your four square walls, using photographs, anecdotes, and building up a real anthology of the time can be a wonderful way of working your way through the coronavirus time. And then we come to the fire signs. Now, I've already talked a little bit about Sagittarius, and this being a sign that really does need wide horizons. So being confined to a small space can be very difficult, but I've already suggested strategies and remedies to make this time purposeful and worthwhile. One of the hallmarks of the fire signs is the ability to adapt very well to a new set of circumstances, and in some ways to thrive in a new set of circumstances. The problem comes in because it doesn't stop there. It isn't a quick process. It's something that goes on and on and on. And the fire signs are not really the marathon runners of the zodiac, and you get very bored and irritated and restless if things go on being the same old, day after day after day. So in a way, for you too, Aries particularly, you need to have new things to grab your attention, new ways to make your day different every day, to give shape to the day. And, you too, learning some new kind of skill is a very good way of making this time useful. But also, I think Aries is very good at getting other people motivated. You're the great motivators of the zodiac. And this might be an opportunity for you to get out there and help other people do things that they've never done before. So you use those means, the internet, the blog, the website, whatever it is, to reach out to people and to explore ideas to make this time really, really useful. Leo, of course, has a little bit of a benefit here because Leo is a fixed sign, and all the fixed signs are capable of concentrated work and also are capable of living in a world that doesn't change that much. And I think Leo, being a very creative sign, you too need to get creative in your day. Use some of the ideas that I've already launched, the idea of building a video diary, of making dramas and little pictorial ways of, showing how the day can be spent, of using humor and color and drama, even joining book circles or play circles in the sense of writing or observing plays. These are things that are close to the Leo heart. So having been right my way through the zodiac, offering strategies and ways to really make this time purposeful, which I hope you'll put into practice, I think it can be a time, it can be a rich period of time. And this is not to downplay the trauma of it all and the dreadful circumstances that a lot of people have to experience, the people who are in the front line working in hospitals, the people who are bringing us the necessities of life. These kind of days are exceptional, and they will go on and on and on. But for the rest of us, those of us who are plunged into a life we never expected, then by knowing our sun sign, by using the things that come naturally to us, we can come out of this time of the coronavirus with some very new skills, things that we can bring into the new world, which will certainly follow this one. So thank you for watching. Take care, and I look forward to speaking to you, to being on my next video in a couple of weeks' time. Bye for now.